think people are starting to join. Hi, everyone. Just give it a couple more minutes. Just wait for it to fill up. But yeah, welcome to Tackling Threads, navigating a game plan for Instagram's new platform. As we all know, on July the 5th, Meta released Threads into the world, and it came after months of anticipation. It's the fastest app to hit 100 million downloads and later blew past 150 million downloads as well. And this actually came as a big surprise to everyone involved, especially the guys at Meta. So it's actually no surprise that right now it's the talk of pretty much all marketing teams, and it's left people feeling a little bit confused as to what is Threads, what should we be doing. So today we really wanted to have a look at the early ins and outs of Threads and have a look at the opportunities that we've got here. So in terms of what we're going to be looking at today, we're going to have a look at what is Threads. We're going to have a look at what is Threads in terms of the wider concept of the Fediverse. We're going to have a look at some of the key features and also some of the updated key features that are going to be coming soon. We've got a couple of creative examples of some of the brands that have already started kind of setting the tone on the platform. And then we're going to have a look at some of our top tips and best practices that we've learned along the way. There'll also be a chance for a Q&A at the end. But again, if anything comes up throughout the session, you can either pop it into the chat, or if you have anything that you want to ask a bit more anonymously, then please pop it into the Q&A box and we'll get those answered. If we don't get them answered today, then we'll make sure that we get back to you separately on it. So for anyone that doesn't know, my name is Verity. I'm the brand advocacy and community lead at Jewel. Previously to this, I was the founder of Style Up Social, which is a social media and content creation agency for fashion brands. And I've been in the sort of fashion social media space for over a decade. And I've got with me Scarlett, who is Jewel's social media manager. Previously to this, she was my right-hand woman at my agency as well, but now she's up-leveling all things social media at Jewel. And for anyone that doesn't know about Jewel, we are a brand advocacy growth solution, and we are used by some of the most passionate consumer retail brands to grow through the advocacy of their passionate customers and influencers. And obviously, we can't talk about Threads without encouraging you guys to come and follow us over there as well. So please feel free to use this QR code and check us out over there. Scarlett and I have got loads of stuff planned for Threads based on some of the stuff that we've learned over the last few weeks. So yeah, please come over, and we love to follow you guys back and get involved. So let's dive in. What is Threads? So Threads say themselves that this is where communities come together to discuss everything from the topics you care about today to what will be trending tomorrow. So whatever it is you're interested in, you can follow and connect directly with your favorite creators and others who love the same things. Or build a loyal following of your own to share your ideas, opinions, and creativity with the world. And their tagline is "Say more with Threads." So unlike most new social networks, Threads is actually built off Instagram, which means it is in fact a standalone social network with its own app, but you need Instagram to sign up for it. And Threads sign up also includes an auto follow button. So this actually allows your new Threads account to follow every account you follow on Instagram. Some have actually referred to this as the button of doom. So, you don't have to use that feature, but I think, using it actually means that there's a very high chance that every single one of your Instagram followers who joined Threads decided to auto follow your brand account as well. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons why we have seen brands grow hundreds of thousands of followers within the first 24 hours of joining Threads. And I think what would be really important here is actually, I think the question has definitely shifted from what is Threads to, is it going to last? There's been a bit of conversation over the last few days that retention and engagement rates have dropped off. And I think one of the biggest reasons why most new social networks fail is that because they can't reach scale fast enough. One of these reasons being is, well, personally, I think engagement and retention rate is always going to drop off anyway. There's going to be a load of people wanting to see what the fuss is about, wanting to see what's going on, and then probably never open the app again. If we all remember Clubhouse, it kind of had a similar effect. And what happens is that early adopters come, but there isn't enough content or users to generate that kind of dopamine hit that we want from a social media platform. But Threads has an instant access to Instagram's 2.35 billion monthly active users. And the app was literally born 2 weeks ago, as we all know, and it's already into a thriving active network. So even though engagement and some retention has dropped, the early growth from it has been completely off the charts. And even now, we're still seeing tens of millions of people come back to it daily. What is great about Threads, I don't know if you probably do, following Adam Mosseri and Zuckerberg themselves on the platform, but they are being very transparent about this journey. They're saying that they never expected it to take off the way that it did. And so right now their focus is building the basics and getting a foundation with that retention. And then once they've nailed that, they'll be looking at growing their community. And I think what we really need to make note of is that this is meta, like Facebook, Instagram, stories, and reels. They have never failed at anything yet. And I don't expect that they will fail at Threads either. And they'll throw what they need to throw at it to make it the success that they want. So quickly then, if we were to look at Threads versus Instagram, so although it's technically a spin off Instagram, Threads doesn't actually compare to it in any way. It's important to think of Threads as a complement to Instagram, but it's not kind of like a direct competitor or a comparison. Both are working together to kind of aid in public conversation. And Threads obviously is mainly through text, and Instagram is through your photos and videos. But what we're seeing with Threads is that it's a true community builder. And as they say, it's Instagram for your thoughts. And then Threads versus Twitter. God, I keep wanting to combine those two words and make up my own social media platform. But anyway, Twitter is probably the most direct comparison to Threads right now. Threads has openly positioned to be the rival of Twitter. As we all know, Twitter's been around a lot longer and has obviously got some more advanced features in place, but Threads definitely is on there in terms of wanting to get there with those kind of advanced capabilities as well. And I think what's important here is that Threads is trying to move towards more, it's encouraging people to focus on more positive conversations, more entertainment. It's more about sports, music, rather than sort of like the politics or the hard news. It does say that it doesn't aim to replace Twitter. And I think if you're a brand that has got a Twitter marketing strategy in place, right now you probably still need to use both. Hopefully there will come a day where either one will suit both your needs, but right now you're probably still finding that you need to use both. And the Fediverse. So we could probably spend a whole other session talking about this. I'd love to know if anyone's kind of looked into this has delved into it. But Threads is basically laying the groundwork to become part of the Fediverse. And so Fediverse are the two names, it's federal and universe combined. And the idea is to have a group of decentralized and independently run servers or platforms operating in an online interconnected space. So basically, Threads is being built so that it works within this multiverse and using these protocols, which are called the Activity Pub. It essentially allows Threads to work with other social media decentralized platforms. So if you're familiar with something like Mastodon, then this will be quite familiar concept to you as well. And this is all part of their transparency movement, because if they do go down this route, which they're obviously planning on going down, it means that as creators and brands, we have more ownership of our audiences and we own our own data. And that's what Instagram have been, like the head of Instagram has been saying. He says, as brands and as creators, you should own your own audiences and own your data. Meta historically has not been great when it comes to data and has probably got quite a bad relationship with its users and the whole data aspect. So this is their way of really trying to improve it. If you look at that picture, we've got those blue lines are called the activity pub. And it's basically, I mean, if you're a big superhero diehard fan like myself, and you think about the multiverse and Spider-Man and all of that, again, you can probably start to picture what this looks like. But for anyone else, think about it like your email. If you're on Gmail, you can still connect with someone who maybe, say, for who's on Microsoft, because they use the same protocols, they use the same terminology, like CCing someone in, BCC. So this is very similar in terms of how this all works. And like I said, I think this is just a big part of Instagram and Meta really trying to improve how brands and creators own their ownership of their audiences. So if we were to have a quick look at the current threads, current abilities. So as we all know, we can post text-based threads, including photos, video, GIFs, and links. The photos, when you upload multiple photos, a lot of people have been talking about the aesthetics of that. Obviously, we've got the rounded corners, and if you do have multiple pictures, they seamlessly flow through from one to the other, and it looks really, really nice. You can reply to and engage with other users' threads. You can quote other users' threads to share with your reply. You can follow profiles of other users in the app, and obviously you can search for more profiles. And then a really good thing right now is you can share threads content to your Instagram grid or your story, which is a great way to obviously cross promote your content across the two platforms. And then as they've launched, Instagram, Adam Mosseri's head of Instagram, has said that the team is really focused on building a following feed, an edit button, multiple accounts, which is great for social media managers, the post search, hashtags, a web presence, and a like list. And again, if you guys are following Adam Mosseri or Zuckerberg on there as well, they're on there regularly. They're talking about updating the features. They let us know when there's an update ready, and they're talking about where all the hidden gems are as well. So they're two great people to follow for that. And then some unannounced upcoming features. We've got, as we've just talked about, it's going to be compatible with Mastodon. There's going to be trends and topics, and improved search and direct messaging, which will be absolutely brilliant. So I just wanted to go into a couple of things that we've picked up over the last couple of weeks. So I think one of the best things about Threads so far is that it's really easy to use, and it's even easier to consume information and to consume that content. But what we've really seen is that brands are showing up with big personality, and it's a great way for brands to really kind of show their personality and humanize in a completely different way. And we're going to show some great examples in a minute. What it has brought about, though, is this kind of unhinged, I don't know whether it's a new trend, but it's bringing it back into this unhinged social media manager trend with the content. So we won't talk about Pizza Hut and where they went wrong. We'll focus on the good stuff. It is, like I said, it's a great opportunity to show up with your brand personality, but just make sure that you are still staying on course with your brand values and your product. It is a great place for repurposing high performing content. We have seen some brands do this. Netflix have done this with some of their tweets, but they're actually seeing higher engagement on Threads than they did do on Twitter. But actually, because it's such a new platform, we're still very much in this test and learn phase. So very much experiment. So yeah, repurpose some of your organic high performing content, see how that does, but also, like, make it part of creating unique, brand new custom content for Threads as well, and really see what happens there. And if there's one thing we can say about Threads, is that it is very, community building has never been easier. In its short existence, Threads has already become a platform focused on community, bonding, and real conversations. So there's not manufactured posts to sell or promote. Brands are actively building community, and not just only with their followers, but also with other brands as well, by, sort of engaging in casual conversation and replying to questions and their comments. comments. So this is a huge opportunity and a huge space to start building more connection and increase your brand loyalty. So I'm going to hand over to Scarlett. We've seen some brands really taking the lead in setting the tone of voice on Threads. But again, in the chat box, please feel free to let us know who you are loving on Threads right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll run you through a few of our favorite examples and what we're loving about them at the moment. So you can see this example from Fresh Beauty. It is fabulous for really humanizing and personalizing your marketing team. Everybody on Threads right now knows that you are the social media manager, that you are the marketing professional. Lean into that. It's having a very, very big moment right now, and it's good to capitalize on that before it's gone. The example from Virgin Voyages, there's a couple of great ones, but one thing that we really love about that is that they're not being afraid to be cheeky. On other platforms, it might not be so appropriate. You might want to prioritize your customer service and a more professional vibe, but on Threads right now, it's all personable, it's all humanized, and that kind of content is doing really well. Then we have some examples from Source. We love this one. It's a more kind of like basic or branded original thread, but it's how you reply to your community and re-engage them that counts here. This little bit of humor where clearly they have a lot of their sources, but they're saying, nope, you need more for sure. Those kind of moments are brilliant for really like creating conversations and also pulling your audience in. That little bit of humor is what will set your account apart from your competitors. Then we have a few more for you. We've got another one from Source, another one that is just kind of just showing their playful side. So someone is suggesting they'll just drink the sauce. Instead of being horrified by that, they're saying, sure, we'll give you a straw next time. Then we have some examples from more beauty sort of brands. So we've got Sephora, really, really fabulous threads here, but our favorite one was the circled one. This is purely because they are taking their product and they are making it more relatable. So everybody knows about all of their product lines, you know, all about their website, you know, every brand they sell, everything that you love from them. Taking that product that is not as commonly spoken about, like the little bundle freebies that you can get at checkout or get at the tills, they're the points of relatability with your customers, and they are a way to authentically include your products on Threads where it doesn't feel so salesy and it doesn't feel like you're really in their face with the product either. Then we have Aldi. Love a bit of Aldi, who doesn't? I've circled this bottom example because I think it really touches on a cultural conversation that's happening at the moment through humor. So don't be afraid to use memes, even if, for example, like this one, they're not entirely branded, they're just touching on that moment. By entering into that conversation, being self-aware enough to know, okay, we're a bit like a Zuckerberg, we're a bit like a Meta, we love a good reinvention, shall we say. Leaning into that has had great results. They're on 13k likes, nearly 500 replies. That is a conversation starter. And then we're on to our last few examples, some of my favorites. So you have Lululemon on the left. Puns are doing fabulously on Threads right now. I personally love them. This one I think is just brilliant because if you don't know what a yoga block is, you're not maybe going to get that. You're going to think, what is this? But people in their community know it, love it, absolutely brilliant. And the other thing they do is they're riffing off of other brand conversations. Don't be afraid to enter into these chats where your brand might never normally talk to Netflix or Aldi. Do it anyway. If you have something you can add to the conversation that you can add to the trend and make it relatable for your audience, there is no drawback in testing that right now. Then lastly, we have some examples from Glossier. We really, really like the personality that they're bringing to Threads. But one of the things that really stands out about them is how they've taken a more classic content pillar like your reviews, but they've made it Threads appropriate. They're leaning into that slightly unhinged aesthetic that some brands are going for. They're using a review that perhaps they wouldn't use somewhere like Instagram, definitely not on their Facebook ads or anything like that, but it works on Threads. It brings that character, and the proof is in the pudding. Somebody immediately replied, convince me to buy your product. Say no more.
Amazing. Thank you, Scarlett.
No problem.
I've just seen some questions. So if you can't answer them right now, just pop them down and we'll get back to them at the end. Okay, so if we were to take notes from some of the examples that we have just seen, and put together our insider and social media expertise, then what would be our game plan? So just some quick top tips. First of all, we're saying not to overthink it. Right now, it's not a created space. So definitely it's about having fun. And I've just seen someone sort of say they're having pushback from directors about the brand personality. I think obviously like it's the direction that it's going in, this witty, light-hearted route. What I would say is similar to maybe what we've just done there, is pull together some of those examples and just really highlight those engagement stats, and just show that even brands that, you know, maybe not have that light-hearted approach on other platforms are still doing it on Threads, and look at, you know, what's happening there. But I'll come back to that question a bit more in a bit. But yeah, it's not created. It's definitely a space where you can have some more light-hearted fun. Developing a weekly series and becoming known for something. So first of all, developing a weekly series means that you're consistent. You're creating something that your audience wants to come back for every single week. That consistency is great for brand recognition and great for brand awareness as well. And like we said, it's a really good way to kind of make sure that your audience comes back. Stick with your niche, but it is a space where you can start to widen topics like Scarlett was talking about there. It gives you an opportunity to tap into other brands and other creators in a whole other way. So yeah, it's a great place to start doing that. And what we really like is using Instagram as your portfolio. It is more of a created space. It's where you're showing up in that created way. But Threads is your playground. Like we said, this is an opportunity for your brand to start showing up in a different way and to build a connection in different way, in that more humanized way as well. And then something really exciting that came out yesterday was a email that Threads have been sending to influencer agencies directly to share these tips with their creators. So we just wanted to pull a couple of these things out because some could be really useful right now. If you haven't yet posted on Threads, then they are talking about making an epic entrance. So this is where brands and creators are leveraging images and memes combined with an open-ended question, which is really driving kind of this debut on Threads. Epic entrances are one of the several general content themes that the email that went out outlines under a section called What Should I Post on Threads? So maybe if you have posted already on Threads, you could like reinvent another kind of epic entrance in some other way. Start a conversation, which obviously sounds pretty obvious on a platform that is built to drive conversation. But what they're suggesting is that by asking for advice or posing a content specific conversation starter, like who celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay should cook with next, this is the kind of interactive content that they're really pushing for right now. It also includes, they also included tips on how to create polls on Threads as well. So even though we don't have the option of creating polls, it's talking about using 2 images and using emojis as ways to get people to vote as well. Challenges and contests are really gaining traction right now on Threads. We've seen it with some big creators that are kind of using it like, when I get to 100K followers, I'll donate $100. But obviously for brands, this is a really great way where you can tap into the power of gifting and sort of setting mini challenges and contests amongst your followers. As Scarlett said, puns are taking off. So it is a bit of a trend on there as well. So weaving these into your content, whether it's stuff that you're posting on your actual account or whether it's in replies to other customers, creators and brands. And even though there's not a huge amount of features available to you yet, but as Meta has always done with all its platforms, it does encourage you to use all the features that you have as much as possible. So use the carousels of up to 10 photos, use those videos, use the different lengths in the copy, in the text as well, and just maximize it as much as possible. And like I said, just get creative with how you can do things like the polls where you can use the images and get people to vote based on emojis. And then some other recommendations from us. We wouldn't be able to get through a webinar with Jewel without hearing brand advocacy. So we definitely think this is a way to use, you can use threads to drive brand advocacy, but with a much lighter touch. Obviously, as we've said, people are currently loving like more positive, light-hearted environments. So, you know, if you're noticing that customers are wanting to get involved in conversations, and, you know, you can start asking them for quotes, start asking them for feedback, and just, yeah, really making it a tool for that connection piece. Hosting Q&As with your customers, or it doesn't have to be just customers, it could be with some of your creators, some of the people that you've got partnerships with, some of your industry professionals. It's a really fun way to do, you know, 5-minute Q&A sessions where then lots of other people could start to get involved and participate. Where possible, use like eye-catching videos and GIFs. Again, you want to kind of create some scroll stopping here. So wherever you can, try and get people to stop and start participating in it. And as we've been saying, it's definitely about experimenting, and don't be afraid to add, you know, your thoughts into other brands' conversations. And this is obviously a really great way to connect with your community. So just make sure that you have those engagement workflows set up and coming back in to connect with your community where possible. And as with all social media platforms, something that we do like to say, adapt, experiment, engage, and learn. And yeah, so just to kind of round up, what we want to say is this is really about getting your brand out there right now. So some of these tips have actually come from some other creators and brands out there. So we wanted to pull these together. But getting your brand out there, so replying to top performing threads from big creators early has really helped some brands increase their exposure and growth. And how they've done this, they've turned on notifications to get into those conversations as early as possible. They're being as responsive with their top engagers as much as possible. And they're also then sharing their content directly to Instagram. So again, they're making sure that they are leveraging and repurposing as much as possible. And where you see killer conversations, even if, you know, there's, you know, quite a few people in there already, don't be afraid to insert yourself in there if you feel that it's aligned and you can definitely add value in some way, even if it's a cheeky pun. So just a couple of things to wrap up. We definitely see great promise with threads. Like I said at the start, I know there's conversations around engagement and retention dropping, but like I said, Meta has never failed at anything. It's still gaining momentum. And this is all about adapting and embracing as much as possible. Twitter and Threads core features are still very similar. So like I said, if you've got a Twitter marketing strategy, you can still kind of combine some of those elements, but make sure that you are really starting to think about where Threads holds a place in your strategy and where you're going to start to need that content, that new content strategy to feed through. And just really pay attention to how Threads evolves. Obviously, if you're a customer with Jewel or if you're in our community, then we'll be keeping you updated. If you're following us on socials, we'll keep you updated with all the news as much as possible. But just really use it as a place to learn, create, and update your strategy as much as needed. And then, as I said, if you are not already part of Jewel's community, you can join our Brand Builders Collective by using this code here as well. This is a great space to, we send industry insights out every month, and we have exclusive online and in-person events every quarter. I know there's some guys in this webinar that are already in it, but I'd love to see some more in there as well. And like I said, we'll keep you updated with all the news. Okay, so is there any questions, Scarlett?
Yeah, there's a couple of great ones so far. So I will go from the top. We have a question from Victoria Noble. She says, do we think there's a chance that this platform will turn into a customer complaints platform like Twitter?
Personally, I don't think so. I mean, obviously there's potential for it because of how easy it is. But personally, I don't think that Meta will allow that to happen. And I think it's probably the audience base and the demographic. I think because it's all kind of spinning off Instagram. And I think it's kind of taking that mentality of Instagram to this new platform in some ways. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I just think that the demographic will be very different. And I don't think Meta, the way that they're trying to encourage the conversations and the direction they want the conversations to go in, I don't think it will start to fall in that space. I mean, social media generally, one of the biggest trends this year is that it is starting to turn into a bit of a customer service place anyway. But I don't see it going down that route personally. But yeah, don't know if you have other thoughts, Scarlett?
Yeah, I really hope that it wouldn't move in that direction. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, but I noticed it on my Instagram account recently. Before you comment, there's this little bubble that pops up now that says we're cultivating a very sort of kind community, think before you post. I think hopefully those elements, and also the way that they kind of, you can choose to block certain words and they naturally block some of those words as well, will keep it a much safer place in some ways than Twitter has been. So yeah, hopefully it wouldn't turn into quite as negative a platform as Twitter can be sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Our next question is from Bex Furno. They say, I'm having pushback from brand directors about having a personality on Threads. I think you saw this earlier. She or he says, even though the company ethos and brand tone of voice is meant to be fun, they're still getting that pushback right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I kind of get it, especially when some brands have kind of gone completely, kind of off on one, should I say, on Threads. Like I said before, I definitely think pulling together a bit of a case study for, not case study, but just kind of pulling together some examples, have a look at what your competitors are doing, and seeing what they're doing, what kind of engagement they're getting, what kind of things are they doing, and just pulling a bit together of like a proposal of where you really want to go with it. And like I said, just really highlight the key things that are happening. Obviously pull things from today in terms of like what Meta's saying themselves in terms of where they want the content to go. But it's still really early days. It's only 2 weeks in. It might be that brands need to wait another month or so to really kind of see the direction that it goes in. But I definitely think it's about pulling together examples of where your competitors are and what they're doing, and also aspirational brands. Who do you want to be more like and what are they doing? And then just pulling out those engagement metrics and just saying like, look, this is what's happening. But that'd be kind of my top advice right now for that.
Perfect. And then we have a question from Ellie Gare. She says, how would we navigate Threads if we work remotely, so no team or office vibes, and offer services, so they're currently headhunters in comms?
Yeah, good question. I think a lot of people are remote as well. We have this issue, but we do get together once a month in the office to get content that we need from our founder and the team. And also I think this depends on how comfortable your team are. I mean, there's definitely creative ways you can kind of get around it. You can sort of set challenges for people to do at home. If there's certain bits of content that you need from the team, then definitely, sort of request that you want to kind of showcase this stuff. But yeah, I don't know, Scarlett, you've kind of been in this space and more remotely than myself. So yeah, any ideas and feedback from you?
Yeah, I think it's really also about leaning into your brand pillars and your brand personality. So the main messages of what you want to communicate to your audience, how can you think about delivering those in ways that don't necessarily need you to talk directly to the camera? So what we love to do with Jules content at the moment on Instagram, I don't know if anyone's seen us over there, but we do love to mix together some reels of the team, some reels from Paul, but also really pulling from our own own strengths, so our areas of expertise, our experience, really leaning into those and creating content that, although it doesn't have a person in it, you still feel as though you're speaking to someone who is behind the screen. You know the person and the team is there without that having to be said. Hopefully that makes sense. But if you have any other questions on that, pop them in the box for sure. Oh, this is actually a fabulous next question from Ella Tarrant, and your question kind of ties into the question that we got from Senem Uktu before. So Senem said, can we use the branded content tools that Instagram has in the future? They were thinking along the lines of paid partnerships, that kind of stuff. And Ella has also said, how or do you see Threads being used for affiliate schemes?
Were we talking about this before, Scarlett? What did you came up with something for this, didn't you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I think at the moment, while they haven't necessarily spoken about the direct future of monetization on Threads, I think if you look at Instagram's past behavioral patterns and adaptations, there will definitely be something coming. So I think right now in this moment, while we perhaps can't prepare for exactly what that will look like, what you can start to do is look at your community of creators, your community of brand advocates, your community of ambassadors, see who is doing very well on Threads at the moment, see who you would like to continue your partnership with more, and maybe start to think of some innovative ways to do that, or to prepare for when the opportunity to monetize directly through Threads comes around. Does that help?
Yeah, no, I think what's really important with Meta is that they're very passionate about their creators. Well, they make out that they're very passionate about their creators. So I think that, yeah, if this goes in the direction that they want it to go in, especially the fact that they're feeding this into the Fediverse and us owning it more and having those opportunities, then yeah, I definitely feel that there's going to be that branded content creator stuff coming up, definitely. Anything else? Any last questions, guys? You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will get this out to everyone. So yeah, I really hope you found it useful. Like I said, we're only 2 weeks in. We're not claiming to be experts. And as we know, we've not really laid out a strategy, but I really hope that some of the learnings that we found has been helpful, and you've got stuff to take away with you. Scarlett's busy saying thank you to everyone. But yeah, we'll get this out to you tomorrow, guys. And yeah, if you've got my email, so if you have any further questions, then please feel free to drop me a line.